All right, hearing none. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Talley, and for sharing your story with us. As I mentioned, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom. We hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you guys, and I appreciate you for having me and listening to me. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. Our next applicant is Jana Hubbard, who I believe I saw on the Zoom.
Oh,
There we are. Ms. Hubbard, we'll turn it over to you.
okay. Can you hear me?
Sure can, yes.
Okay. Sorry. I'm a little bit nervous, so I'm going to do my best to just speak correctly. And just to make you guys aware, school was canceled. So my two daughters are home. I think I might have unmuted myself. My daughter needed a snack. So if something was to happen, I apologize. I am a mother first.
You're in good company.
Okay. Let's get to it. All right. So 5 minutes is a little short. So I started racking up a record very quickly when I was young, before I was a mother. 2007 was the first felony I was convicted of, theft of movable property, party to a crime, and crime against an elderly person. It was three of us, two other females, one who knew the victim. It was her family, actually. We went in and there's a lot of story behind it, how it happened. I'm not sure what all detail I'm supposed to go into on here, but I was convicted of it. It happened. It was unfortunate. I did pay my part of the restitution. There's some confusion there because it does still say that money is owed. June 2008, I was convicted of a burglary, a Class F felony. For the 2007, I was given 180 days jail and 4 years probation. The 2008 burglary, I was given a withheld sentence of 15 months probation and 15 months of prison, which was revoked on February 4th, 2009. And I was in jail at the time that it was revoked, and I did serve both of those sentences. May 2009, I was found guilty of a Class G felony, a theft, movable property from a person that actually was an amended armed robbery. And I received 18 months of prison consecutive to any other sentence and 3 years of extended supervision. I did about, in total, I believe, 2 years in the jail and prison system. I also was eligible for the CIP, and I went to St. Croix and completed 6 months of challenge incarceration program. I was released March 3rd, 2010. So I guess I'll go into what happened after my release, the good stuff. So let's go there. Sorry. So since my release, I had the same parole officer, which I just have to say, Tim Carpenter was amazing. And I was so grateful to have him on my side. He really helped me just become who I've become today. So he's retired, but shout out to Tim Carpenter. You're an amazing man. So I was released. I had myself put into a TLP actually, because I wanted to make sure that going back into the community, I stayed focused on where I wanted to go, because I knew that I never wanted to go back to the person that I was before. I'm also going to put a little input in leading up to these crimes that I committed and these people that I was hanging out with. I went through a lot of trauma in my life up until that point. That's not an excuse. I'm not making an excuse for any actions that I did. I take responsibility for them. But being an adult now and being a mother, those things we go through, they play a part in the choices that we make. And they played a huge part in the choices that I made and the people that I surrounded myself with. So was released, obtained employment about 4 months after being released, obtained my driver's license, bought a car, got an apartment, enrolled myself into beauty school, which I actually became pregnant during being a beauty school applicant, completed that. We had our first daughter 3 months early. She was in the NICU for a month, and I still, went through and became a certified cosmetologist, which I still currently do to this day, and do love my job. I have always worked. I have two daughters now, with my ex, their dad. So in 2018, I also became a certified eyelash technician for eyelash extensions. I worked for Regis Corporation for a total of like 5.5 years. I had some other salons that I worked for in the meantime. In 2019, I left Regis Corporation and decided that I wanted to obtain my establishment license and go independent. So I created my LLC, Leveled Up Lash and Hair Boutique. That is still in place, but I'm not currently independent. COVID came along. I stayed independent through all that after we were allowed to open back up. I currently work full-time for Great Clips, and I love it there. I've been there for a little over a year. I love my job. So let's see where else I'm at. I did start my associates in business management at MATC. I did not complete it. I did have some things that came up with my ex, which we are currently separated. So I kind of had to take on that single mother role. But I've succeeded in that. I'm going to point before I get into my accomplishments with certifications or anything that you can see or hear. My biggest accomplishment since all this is my daughters. I have two daughters. My oldest will be 13 next month. My youngest is 8. They are straight A students. They are amazing. They are constantly being recognized for the type of young women that they are, certificates of excellence, being recognized for being mediators and for being kind. They're involved in gymnastics and volleyball and cheer and orchestra. And my oldest is she's getting nominated for orchestra concerts throughout Wisconsin. So let me just point there that they're the biggest thing. They're my biggest accomplishment. So
I'm tempted to stop you on that high note, but can I just ask you to share anything else that you think we should know in the next 30 seconds or so? Because I want to make sure we get to questions from the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. Okay, so what I've done so I graduated from Women's Empowerment Program 2017. That was something that I did to help myself through trauma, and then I still work with the mentor of that program to help other women be successful and just kind of tell my story a little bit. I volunteered at Salvation Army. I donate and have volunteered to the Women's Shelter for Women and Children. Me and my daughters have helped to feed the homeless in the community, especially during COVID when there was a lot of mostly homeless men throughout the community that didn't have shelter. My goal, if I was to receive my pardon, is being a hairstylist. It's great. I love it, but it's hard. I work a lot. I work many hours. It's draining. I want to go to school for nursing. I will go to school for nursing. But I just know that the pardons will make my chances of obtaining the employment that I want easier. So that's it.
Excellent. We'll see if there are questions for you. Questions for Ms. Hubbard. Judge Kremers.
I just have one. You mentioned something about restitution, but then didn't clarify, because the applicant or the information we have is that you still owe restitution to at least the victim from the last theft in the amount something. You were ordered to pay $4,700 in restitution. It's not clear how much is still owed, but do you still owe restitution?
I do not. I had to pay before my release from parole. I was released in 2015. I had to pay up anything that was owed.
How much restitution have you paid?
Oh my gosh, honestly, like I don't have a receipt booklet from it, but I know that in total, when speaking with Tim Carpenter, I think I've paid close to like $15,000 just in a total, like maybe more of parole fees, restitution. I know there was a little confusion on one of the cases that had the three of us. That was the theft from an elderly. Was supposed to be like split three ways, but it still was in like a total basket, if that made sense. So if the other females didn't pay their part, they're like, you may have to do like a civil court type of deal. I haven't looked like further into it, but I know that I had to take care of my responsibilities before being released from my parole.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Reverend Hancock.
Ms. Hubbard, do you have any contact with Kristen Shoup, who was the victim of the robbery?
No.
And the victim of the crime where you and the two other women went into the elderly woman's home, she supports your application. How does that make you feel? Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Ms. Hubbard? Ms. Hubbard, I had just one for you. You mentioned in your application materials that you are sober from alcohol and drugs. Is that still the case? And can you tell us how long?
Yeah, so I haven't really ever had like an addiction problem, but I choose not to drink alcohol. It's just a personal preference for my lifestyle and how I live. And I also don't smoke cigarettes or agree with anything of that nature.
Okay, great. Other questions for Ms. Hubbard? None? All right. Thank you very much for your time today and appreciate you joining us on the Zoom. We hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is